Den. Brother Paul.
Good afternoon.
I served him his cup of coffee, so he's ready to talk, I'm sure. And what's going on, Paul? Do you want to talk about anything particular first? You want to do national first? How are we going to go about it?
Steve, there's so much to talk about, it's almost mind-boggling.
All right, first we need to apologize for it being so long since our last one.
Yeah.
But life gets in the way sometimes. You guys all know that. And, we'll update you on what we can. And if need be, we'll be doing a few more episodes soon.
Yeah, so welcome back to the Lion's Den.
So let's start talking about what's going on in the news, Paul. Did you get a chance to see that movie, The Sounds of Freedom?
I didn't see Sound of Freedom, but I heard it was really good. It's the kind of a subject matter that, let's face it, there are people who are sensitive to that kind of subject matter. So,
but I did see it, and it was done very tastefully. I highly recommend it. It opens your mind up and your eyes up a little bit, and you walk in thinking of it's going to be one kind of movie, and it's got a story, it's a true story, and it's just amazing. And one good thing that we did, our group Act Right of North Carolina, we went to the movie together, a whole bunch of us, and then afterwards we stuck around and handed out flyers about human trafficking and what's going on. And I think from the feedback I got from our members, it's going to be a big thing for us going forward. I think there's a real thirst to do something about it, and we have the kind of group that can, and I think it's going to be great.
yeah, from a natural standpoint, Steve, and organically, this is what's going to happen. And that is to say, there are individuals who are going to see the movie, or who have already seen the movie, and they're going to start to think about what was presented to them on that screen. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have people they'll probably go home and they'll think about it and not really do anything. And then there's going to be other people who are in a position to really take it to heart and say to themselves, you know what, I have to get involved in doing something about this.
Right, and we all need to be involved with what's going on in this world today. I know it's overwhelming to some people to say, especially when you see the kind of nonsense we deal with here locally, it's discouraging, and it makes people upset with their party. And what I always tell people is, don't quit the party. It's not the party itself that's bad, it's the people running it that has got a problem. These elitists, these people that are phony Republicans that are only running, to be able to get elected. They can't get elected as Democrats, so they run as Republicans. That's really what's going on. And you know what, Paul? Something really eats at my craw. I use that term probably way too often, the rhino term, Republicans in name only. But, people tend, the GOP here, who are the rhinos, they tend to try to make that, just somebody who just switched parties. That's not really the case. It's someone who doesn't believe in the values of the party and is pretending to be a Republican. I really don't care when they change their card of registration. It's more about, do they believe in the values of the party? Are they conservative? Because the Republican Party was founded on being conservative. That was the whole premise behind it. That was the foundation of it. And if you don't have those values and I'll give you a great example of it. I had the unfortunate pleasure of attending the state convention for the GOP here in North Carolina. And it was, to say the least, a disgusting display. We had 1,800 people in an auditorium. The guy that was running for chair is in charge of the national election integrity for the GOP. He decides, in his brilliance, to go with an app for people to vote at this thing. Tries to con everybody saying, well, don't worry, only people in this room can vote, which was false. That was a lie. We had people, while we were there, calling in saying, hey, I'm in Wisconsin, I just voted. Hey, I'm in Florida, I just voted. And their addressing of it was, we will just, if we see discrepancies, like if there was 40 people supposed to be here and there's 45 votes, we'll just take that county's votes and throw them out. So now they just threw, to route a bunch of people's votes, which I don't think was fair. And that's only the ones they caught. What about the ones that were changing the outcome? You know, like changing people's votes.
Oh, you're talking about what happened at the state convention.
Yeah, it was bad. And this guy, Watley, that ran, was supposed to be the guy on election integrity, and he couldn't even handle it for 1,800 people of his own people in an auditorium. It was disgraceful. That guy didn't deserve to win that. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think the guy that ran against him, Mr. Kane, I think Mr. Kane actually is our chair. And that's who I recognize as our chair. I don't care what they say. So I'm just saying, at least he was trying to do things the right way. Watley, you can't even hear. And a bunch of people filed to get their money back for going, because you're not supposed to, in the plan of organization, you're not supposed to charge to be able to vote. And that's what they did. It cost 70 some odd dollars each person. People put, a whole bunch of people put in, and they sent a standard letter to everybody, like the same letter to everyone that filed to get their money back and said, no, we're not going to give you money back. So they get to steal our money.
What's our email address is actrightofnc@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you contact us from anywhere, locally, statewide, for example, or even nationally, actrightofnc@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. And we're growing. We're growing.
And tell us that things in your state are running perfectly. Okay, we don't expect to have any emails.
No, not that kind.
All right, but you get my point. My point is,
send us your horror stories. I want to read them.
Yeah. In other words, we need feedback about the idea how. Look, this stuff is a nightmare anywhere you live. It's not going to be pie in the sky. Oh, our convention runs great, or our county runs perfectly. Not going to happen. Okay, so what we're seeing is epidemic. Is my point. What
Absolutely.
we're seeing is epidemic, not only just maybe in our state, but also nationally. And we want to address it because we know that we're not an isolated case.
No.
Right? And you're not either. It's everywhere. That doesn't make it better,
No.
and that's no consolation. However, it's worth mentioning that people who have principles and ethics and morals, people who are honest, people who deal in the truth, okay, are far less likely to drop the ball on this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I mean to say.
And these elitists that are in charge need to be removed. And the only way you're going to do that, like President Trump says, is to get involved and take them out. Now, that's no easy task. We've been trying here in Onslow County for a long time. But I will tell you this is how bad it is. At that same convention, there was a vote brought up to censure Senator Tom Tillis. Now, everybody and anybody that knows, Tom Tillis never votes the right way when it comes to Republican values. He votes almost always with the Democrats when it comes to something that's important. And he's a disgrace. He's not a conservative. He's not really a Republican if you go by what the values are. And the people from our county, from the people that I knew that were there, because I wasn't there during the vote, and there was a standing vote, so there's no paper trail. So their thing is, oh, well, you can't prove how I voted. But our GOP chair now, Christine Card, actually admitted that she did not stand to vote to censure Senator Tom Tillis, which is a disgrace. You should be ashamed of yourself. And then you try to tell me you're better than Melinda was? Give me a break. I mean, Melinda was a bonehead, but you guys are even worse. Or just as bad. So, and that's just my opinion. You don't have to take me for it, but anybody who's been watching our show for a long enough time or watching the Goodfellas show, you know how I feel about that. I just want people to be honest, do what they're supposed to do, and hold to the party values. Is that so hard? That seems to be the hardest thing.
It's hard, Steve, and I'll tell you why. Here's where the challenge lies. And it's reasonable to expect that as human beings, we want to be associated with others who we want to be in tight with, or want to be seen with, or have social circles with the kind of people that we want to be seen
And
around.
we can have political differences within our party about which candidate you like more and less, and that's fine. That's fine. Everybody has a different opinion on that. That's fine. But we should all, anybody that's registered as a Republican, all have the same conservative values that is in our plan of organization or our party platform. We should all have those same things. If you don't fit that, then you are a liar. You are a bold-faced liar, and that's what gets me. That's what gets me. I won't go on it anymore, but...
Well, maybe for the purposes of this discussion, Steve, at some point, it might be instructive to lay out what exactly is the Republican Party plank. In other words, is there a reasonable expectation that the Republican Party is going to stand for the rights of the unborn anymore?
And as well this should be.
And as well it should be. Or is it, you see what the track I'm taking is?
Mm-hmm.
The track I'm taking is, let's delineate, let's define just what exactly is the Republican Party plank. What ideals and what principles should we be living up to or aspiring to, or at least setting an example for, in order to turn around and say, well, so-and-so isn't living up to the standards, or this particular representative or public official has violated those standards. Mm-hmm. And these are where we need to be able to hold people's feet to the fire by first making sure that we're all on the same page on what it means. Okay, and I think that's reasonable to expect.
Mm-hmm. And the problem is that people don't want to, it isn't that we don't want to work with each other. And I firmly believe that there's a lot of good people that want to work together, but there's some people that believe the nonsense. There's some people that believe, you know, what they're told to believe. You know, you go with what the party says. You go, but it's not the party saying it. It's a few elite people who think they know better than you.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people in the past say to me, oh, you know, oh, well, you do what we say because we know better than you. And that's how they feel about people. Actually, I've heard them say this, that they know better than you. They don't want the common guy, some driver or some garbage man or any other profession like that, you know, a blue-collar guy. They don't want them making political decisions. I've heard that come out of their mouth. And to me, that makes us no better than the Democrats.
Hey, Steve, we don't want you making political decisions, but pay your damn taxes.
All right,
okay?
And don't forget, volunteer your time. I'm going to take credit for it. Donate some money. I'm going to take credit for that too.
It's absurd, ladies and gentlemen. And
It's
like
just,
Steve and I were talking about before, we were having a conversation about this very thing. There's a lot of confusion out there.
Mm-hmm. And
Let's
that's what
face
they're
it.
going for. They want you to be confused.
They want you to be confused. They want you and I to be scratching our heads saying, Steve, what just happened? I mean, let's do a show, Steve, about I was there and I saw it, but what just happened?
Right.
In other words, let's not.
And that's happening a lot. I mean, Paul, is there anybody you think is any less of a Trump guy than me?
It's difficult to say.
Right.
I need more exposure. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I literally wear a Trump shirt every day of my life. I am always out there promoting our party and what we stand for. The real stuff, not the fake stuff. And they still try to label me as a troublemaker or as somebody that's not really a Republican. Baloney. I'm more of a Republican. I'll put myself up against any one of you anytime. Just plain and simple. I hold to the party values. You guys need to read it.
But see, we were talking about just now, Steve, that our enemy wants us to be confused.
Right.
I don't want to be confused, so I'm not going to be. What about you?
No, I
Okay.
refuse to be confused.
And
I
so-
know
right.
how I feel. I know I hold to these values. Have I held to them my whole life? Most of it. And there were times I had my moments of confusion like anybody else. But, you know, when you start having kids and when you start being an adult and, you know, you might, there's an old saying, people are all born liberals and end up conservative.
But let me tell you why somebody like the chair of the county Republicans would not rise up to censure Tillis. Okay, here's why. All right, and you know, I might be right, I might not be, but I'm willing to at least say it. Okay, the reason why is because there are those of us who will unequivocally stick to our principles, and there are those of us who are swayed rather by influence. Okay?
You know,
And
that's
so-
right on the head.
And so
That's right on the head.
when you are a principled individual who says, no matter what happens, I'm standing on principle, then you're going to stand up and you're going to censure Tillis. However, if you're someone who's easily influenced, guess what? Standing up to censure Tillis doesn't happen. Sorry, but that's the difference.
Oh, and the example of that exists.
Yeah.
Examples of that exist.
Yeah.
If you go back and you look, we went over a year in our party here in Onslow County with no public portion. Does that sound like the Republican Party that's attracting people? And with the new people, I think 2 of the last 3 meetings, they weren't able to have a quorum. So they couldn't vote on anything because people don't want to come anymore. They're irrelevant. They made themselves irrelevant because they're so tainted. They're so, like, I don't want the people to make decisions. I have to listen to what they're telling me at the state. The state's telling me. It doesn't go that way, guys. It's bottom up, not top down. That's how the party's supposed to work. Bottom up. It's supposed to come from the precincts, not from the state dictating how we do things. So it's just a mess. And I don't really want to talk about the local stuff because they're full of it. There's only one other thing I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you heard about it. Here they're trying to get back a YMCA pool. But they want to use everybody else's money. They want to use $3 million from the school board, a couple million from the county, the state. They want to pool all these resources. $14 million they want for a pool. You could buy every kid in this county his own pool for $14 million and have money left over.
Do you know what normal people do?
They go to the beach.
Let me just.
And a beach town?
If you're trying to put in a pool at your YMCA and you're a normal person, you know what you do? You get some contractors to come in and give you an estimate on what the cost would be. And then you go with the bidder who's the most modest in the sense that they've got a good reputation for accomplishing the task at hand and they've given you a reasonable rate. Mm-hmm. That's sensible, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. But instead, okay, what they're doing is they're trying to pick the pocket of the taxpayers in the sense of, okay, well, let's hyperinflate the value of this pool and let's make it an issue where it becomes civic to the point that instead of going to Navy Federal Credit Union for the loan to put the pool in, instead of doing that, they want you to pay for it. And you're not even swimming there.
You know, it reminds me of that Davy Crockett when he was a congressman.
It's ridiculous.
You know, he had approved something to give money to a bunch of houses that burned, and he was one of the guys that voted for it. When he went back home, he met a guy who had voted for him before. And he said, you know, how you doing? Good. Do I got your vote this next election? The guy was like, nope. He's like, what do you mean?
You made a mistake.
He goes, you're spending money like it's your money?
You made a big mistake.
You made a big mistake.
Yep.
He said, there's a lot of people that need things, but if you really think you need it, why didn't you go out to the public and see if they really wanted it? Why didn't you go put a bond referendum out? Or, raise the taxes. People would be behind it if it's for something good. But see, they dangle this little thing called, it's gonna help the kids. You know, they play with your heartstrings. It's gonna, you know, we'll be able to have swimming competitions now. Well, $14 million, and that's just the beginning, because it'll be a money pit. You know it'll be a money pit. If you don't think it's gonna be a money pit, or they're telling you, that's baloney. It's gonna be a money pit, because it's a 99-year lease. You think in 99 years that thing ain't gonna have to be fixed, or redone, or rebuilt, or an addition is going to want to be added on. As it is, they want to add a whole bunch of other stuff anyway attached to this thing. And instead of using property they have already, they want to buy property where they want to put it. We just bought this horse farm that you morons agreed not to build on, which I found out from someone real close that there's some stuff buried there, and that's why they don't want them digging.
Wait, what morons? This is our audience.
Oh, the commissioners.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, the county commissioners. They're a bunch of idiots. Most of them anyway. Not all of them, but most of them. And I'm sorry, I talk the way I talk, and if that offends you, don't listen. I can't help it. I'm not going to change who I am, but I'm going to say it like I see it, and they're a bunch of morons.
Now, you're talking about Kit Carson's buried treasure in the front yard, or what's going on there?
Well, from the person I spoke to, they said that they were involved with that farm years before even it was bought by the senator, Harry Brown. And for years and years and years and years, people were dumping all kinds of stuff there. And before it was sold to Harry Brown, they covered it up with a bunch of dirt. And if they go digging, that's why he made that as part of the agreement. If they go digging, they're going to find some toxic stuff in there. Is what I was told. Now, I haven't been able to verify it. I'm the reporter reporting what I was.
So you're talking about a toxic waste site cleverly disguised as a
horse
farm.
That was the only safe thing they could put on it, because the horses aren't going to dig.
And these are the people, folks, let's just go back about 15 minutes in the conversation here when we were talking about, these are the individuals with the elitist mentality who don't want to hear from the factory worker or the postal delivery person or the blue collar trash collection technician. They don't want to hear from them. They just want to have the taxpayers fund a toxic waste site that looks like a horse farm.
Right. Maybe, and I'm going to be absorbent in the number I'm picking. If there's 50 to 100 people using that horse farm a year, that's a lot.
Wow.
And I'm not talking even the lady that we are roped into having a lease with, who runs the facility to house the horses sometimes. You can't even go on that property without asking that lady. This whole thing smells bad. We spent almost $2 million on that property, and we're not getting to use it, and now we can't build on it? To me, that's the perfect place to build this thing. If you want to build it, let the YMCA put up the money, and you guys put up the property, and let them use the horse farm. I'm sure you can get out of that deal about the thing, but then you know what's going to happen. They're going to start digging. They're going to find all this stuff that shouldn't be buried there. Who knows? Bodies maybe too. Who knows? But, well, oh wait, I'm thinking I'm in Jersey for a second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, mafia hit job.
But they're going to dig, and they're going to have a huge bill to clean it up and destroy it in the process. So, but you get my point. Why do we need this pool? I love kids. Kids would love going swimming in a pool, but for $14 million, buy them start a $2 million program where you buy people pools for their kids. How's that? Do we really need a swim team? We are a county that's attached to the ocean, right? Where people go in the ocean here. Why do we need a pool when we got the ocean? And if you want a pool, buy a pool for your yard. Buy a built-in pool. Buy a ground pool. Buy a little kiddie pool that like my dog goes in. But you can buy a lot of them for $14 million. You think you can buy a pool for $14 million, Paul?
Oh, no.
In fact, I'll build you a pool that'll cost less. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. I think it's a waste of money. And this is the same county that cut out, I think it was hiring 7 extra sheriff's officers because they didn't have the money for it. Wouldn't 7 extra sheriff's officers be better money spent than this? Wouldn't, I don't know, teaching kids shop, maybe learning skills that they'll actually use, seeing that the kids you got coming out. Oh, I gotta lay this one on you. You're gonna flip. So I speak to this lady, and I'll change it up a little bit so nobody knows who it actually is. But there's a lady brought in to help with the scores and in a certain area of reading. And they brought her in at 5th grade. The kid's scores at 5th grade level they were reading at a first and second grade level, at 5th grade. So they bring this lady in. She starts working with the kids, doing a great job with them. I come to her at the end of the year and say, so they're all good? And she's like, are you kidding me? She goes, I'm lucky if I can bring them up 1 or 2 grades. She goes, they've been goofing off for 2 years on the computers, not really learning. They don't really have a thirst for learning at this point. And I can only do so much. I'm happy if I get them up to reading at a 3rd grade level at this point. These kids are tremendously behind, but yet they want to spend money on a pool rather than, hey, hire more teachers to get the kids up to the right level of reading. Or how about we do better in our school systems? Maybe the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, right? Let's do better. We could do better. We could spend that money way better. How about this? Why don't we make a program where we give the money to the parents and let them decide how the kids learn? Right? Like Florida and Arizona, right? Those are 2 states doing that.
It's called school choice.
School choice. Why don't we put that money into a small school choice program and see how it works and prove that it works? But it's ridiculous, Paul. I'm sorry. I had a vent. It's been a while. Thank you for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you.